Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn regarding this subject environmental hygiene, which comes under the first year GNM, and in that the unit first is introduction. We'll see the first unit in this. This is the chapter outline. We will see firstly what is the importance of environment, healthy environment, and after that we will see the purposes of environmental health. After that we will see what is the environmental problems these are prevailing in India, and lastly we will see the factors which are affecting environmental health, and then we'll see the summary. So this is the whole chapter's outline. This chapter consists of mainly 2 hours. We'll see one by one. So basically, what is the learning objective of this unit? Why we are learning this unit in nursing? So firstly, the learning objectives are, on the completion of this chapter, the reader will be able to will define environment, that what is environment, what the meaning of environment is. Then after that, describe the area and components of environment, that which are the components which are included in the environment, and after that he or she will be able to explain the importance of healthy environment, why it is needed to be in the healthy environment, and after that we will see the environmental problems we will discuss, and lastly we will discuss the factors which can affect the environmental health. Now we will see one by one. So firstly, key terms that will included in these chapters. In that first, whenever you are seeing this word environment, that environment means factors which affects person's life. This all factors can be called as environment. So the first key term, that is environment. Second key term which you will see many a times in this chapter will be sanitation. So what is sanitation? A system that disposes human waste efficiently, protecting health. Sanitation, that means a system in which we are disposing the human waste. It can be any kind of waste we are disposing it, that the pattern or the system of disposing it is called as sanitation. Next one is green revolution. Green revolution is increasing crops by using fertilizers. Nowadays we are using many fertilizers for farming, and that increasing crops is known as green revolution. Next one is deforestation. Deforestation means we are nowadays removing many trees and forests from their place, so that cutting of the many trees or that cutting of the greenery is called as deforestation, which is a removal of trees and forest from their own place. And the last one is urbanization. The urbanization is development of rural areas like cities. So these are the key terms which we will see many a times in this chapter. Now we'll start from the introduction. So first of all, environment today has become a multidisciplinary subject. As you all know that earlier it was like only regarding sanitation or only regarding nature, that was called as environment. But nowadays this environment has become a multidisciplinary subject which is studied in many streams. So in earlier days, as I have told you, that it was studied as a branch of nature science, but nowadays it is related to or related with social sciences, history and literature, etc. According to the system theory of environment, there is a system theory of environment. According to that, the moral of the or the conclusion is it refers to the internal environment and external environment. The internal environment, we can say, which is within the some system or within the body, that is known as internal environment, which is outside, that is called as external environment. The internal environment include biological, physical, psychological, sociological and spiritual systems. These all systems are included in the internal environment, whereas in the external environment it consists of external factors. External factors like living organisms and non-living organisms that surround the human beings and affect them, such as air, they breathe, the air we are breathing, that is known as external environment. Apart from that, the water we are drinking or the water they drink, that is known as external environment. The food they consume is also external environment. Housing, climate, heat, radiation, humidity, geography, waste, microbial agent, insects, animals, rodents, plants, and noise, and automobiles. These all are the external factors which can affect external environment. So basically there are two types of environment, that is internal environment and external environment. Internal environment consists of within the context, that is internal environment, which can include biological, physical, psychological, sociological, and spiritual system. The another one is external environment, which includes all the external factors apart from living and non-living organisms, like the air we are breathing, the water we are drinking, the food we are consuming. Apart from these main three necessities, housing, climate, heat, radiation, humidity, geography, waste, microbial agent, insects, animals, rodents, plants, noise, and automobiles, these all are considered under the external environment. So the key to the good health largely depends upon the healthy environment. The basic good health of an individual is basically depends on the environment, in which environment you are living. So the much of the health problems are due to adverse environmental factors like water pollution, air pollution, poor housing conditions, presence of animal reservoirs and insects, vectors of diseases which pose a constant threat to human health. So basically these are the adverse factors which can affect your health ultimately. Like if there is a water pollution, if you are living with the system of air pollution, or there are poor housing conditions or poor sanitation are there, or the presence of animal reservoirs or rodents or insects or vectors are there, so ultimately the person's health will be deteriorating. So this is the much of health problems which is caused by the environmental problems. The environment is getting deteriorated very fast because of population explosion, growing industrialization, increasing urbanization, deforestation, soil erosion, continuous nuclear technology, and green revolution, etc. So basically environment is slowly, gradually, we can say it is deteriorated very fast by these of the problems. These problems, like we have heard many a times of the basic problem, that is population explosion. In earlier times there was not this much population, so the environment was healthy compared to this time. But nowadays this environment is getting very deteriorated, or it is deleteriously damaged, that is because of the population explosion itself. Because you can think that nowadays in single home, if there are 4 members, most of the time 3 members having their own vehicles. So this much vehicles on the earth, or this much vehicle on the particular area, what it will produce? It will produce environmental pollution only. So these are the problems which can ultimately lead to the environmental problem, or an environmental unhygiene, we can say. So these are the problems which can lead to environmental deterioration. In earlier days, the environmental sanitation was used to determine the relation between environment and health. So in earlier days, this term environmental sanitation was only used to determine or to check out the relationship between the two terms. The first term is environment, and the second one is health. So this is the relationship between these health and environment, that was called environmental sanitation. But here the word sanitation, that means the science of safeguarding health. We are safeguarding the health of a person, a way of living cleanly in all the aspects of life, on the basis of which one can protect himself against disease and improve health. Cleanliness and hygienic conditions essential for good health are related to healthy environment. The health and environment have deep interrelation. We can think about it that the health and environment is interrelated, and it is very deep interrelated. Actually, the term sanitation covers the whole field of controlling the environment with a view to prevent disease and promote health. So basically the need of the sanitation or environmental hygiene This is basically for the controlling the environment which is harmful or which can ultimately lead to any kind of infirmity or disease or illness. So here we are trying to prevent the disease, and if the health is good, we are promoting the health or maintenance of the health. Man has already controlled some factors in his environment. For an example, water, housing, food, clothing, and sanitation. So these some factors man has already controlled in some extent, not the whole extent, but in some extent we have controlled this. These controllable factors are included in the standards of living. It is the control of these factors that are responsible for improvement in human health in the past century in developed countries. In this India is not developed countries. We know that this is a developing country. India is. So as the old problems are solved, new problems are emerging due to deleterious changes in the environment, and as a result of fast development of industrialization, urbanization, and demographic growth, man is responsible for the pollution of his own environment. So day by day, slowly, gradually, compared to earlier times or compared to earlier era, nowadays the pollution, even if it is a water pollution, even if it is a housing conditions, even if it is a air pollution, these all pollution can deteriorate the environment, and ultimately it can lead to the health problems of the personals. Every change in environment affects the health. Clean and safe environment can be the basis of good health. If you are living in a good environment, then your health can be a good one. There is a widespread concern among the general public, health engineers, environmentalists, scientists, health administrators, epidemiologists, health professionals, and politicians, etc. The environmental degradation is of growing concern of international agencies like UN, that is United Nations, and WHO, that is World Health Organization. In 1972, UN, that is United Nations Conference on Human Environment, focused on the attention of whole world on the environmental hazards that threaten human being. Since then, World Environmental Day is celebrated on 5th of June every year to act as a reminder on persisting the environmental problems. Like we say that when we are feeling low, at that time we are watching some motivational videos, or we are listening some good music, or listening some motivational speakers. But by the time, slowly, gradually, we are not continuing that phase of our mind. So here also we are forgetting that we need to control these environmental problems or these environmental pollution kind of problems. So for that, for persistence of these environmental problems, in the remembrance of these, we are celebrating every 5th of every year, we are celebrating World Environmental Day every yearly. Now we'll see firstly definition of environment. So firstly, this definition says that all that which is external to the individual and with which he is in constant interaction, that is known as environment. So first definition is, it is defined as all that which is external to the individual, apart from the individual, and with which he is in constant interaction, that is known as environment. And these includes all the external surroundings like housing, air, water, food, soil, plants, animals, insects, microbes, etc. And it also includes meteorological factors, for an example, temperature, humidity, sunlight, rainfall, etc. And another definition which is given by Universal Encyclopedia is environment is the sum total of all the conditions, effects and system which affect all the creatures, all the creatures, their racial development, life and death. So basically environment is what? It is the sum total of all the conditions, effects and the system which affect all the creatures, all the living creatures, not only a human being, their racial development and their life and death. This is known as environment. The another definition which is given by Chris Park, that is, environment refers to the sum total of conditions which surround a man at a given point in space and time. So this is correlated to previous definition. Here also sum total word is coming. So here it is also refers to the sum total of conditions. Which conditions? That conditions which surrounds the man at a given point in space and time, which is given by Chris Park. And the last definition which is given by a nursing theorist, name is Roy. So according to here, environment indicates all of the internal and external conditions, circumstances and influence surrounding or affecting the development and behavior of persons and groups. So this is the definition which is given by a nursing theorist, which indicates all of the external and internal conditions, because we have already studied that environment has two parts, external and internal. So here also it comes that internal and external conditions, circumstances and influences surrounding or affecting the development and behavior of whom? Of persons and groups. That is known as environment. So these are the different kind of definitions of environment. Now we'll see sanitation. What do you mean by sanitation? So the literal meaning of sanitation is the science of safeguarding health. The science which is safeguarding health is known as sanitation, and it is considered as a way of life by National Sanitation Foundation of USA. It defines sanitation as the quality. It is as the quality of living which is expressed in the clean home, the clean farm, the clean business, the clean neighborhood and the clean community. And it is nourished by knowledge and grows as an obligation and an ideal human relations. So this is the definition of sanitation which is given by National Sanitation Foundation of USA, that it is the quality of living which is expressed in the where it can be expressed. It can be expressed whether it is in the clean home, in the clean farm, in the clean business, in the clean neighborhood, and lastly it is in the clean community. So that is known as the sanitation. Being a way of life, it must come from within the people. So it must come from the within, from the individual. In the past, sanitation was only focused on the sanitary disposal of human excreta, but even today also many people think that sanitation means the construction of latrines. No, it is not. Sanitation doesn't mean only like construction of latrines or only a disposal of human excreta. It is not only about that. Actually, the term of sanitation includes the whole field of controlling the environment. The way or the field in which the environment is controlled, the whole field is known as sanitation. It is not actually about only disposal of human excreta or construction of the latrines. Now we'll see environmental sanitation. So according to WHO, the control of all those factors in man's physical environment which exercise or may exercise a deleterious effect on his physical development, health and survival. Sanitation or environmental sanitation are no more only concerned with sanitary disposal of human excreta, but as I told you earlier, but it covers the whole field of controlling this environment. Why? In order to prevent and control disease and promote health. It includes prevention of pollution of environment from industrial waste, automobiles, nuclear technology, pesticides, etc. And therefore, the term environmental sanitation is replaced by environmental health. Earlier it was environmental sanitation, but nowadays it is replaced by the term environmental health. So now we'll see what is environmental health. So firstly, it can be defined as an art and science of promoting positive environmental factors and prevention and control of all the potential hazards, including physical, chemical, biological and social factors which have deleterious effect on health of people. So this environmental health is the art and science which promotes the positive environmental factors and which prevent or control the potential hazards. Potential hazards are the risk factors which can prone to get some kind of disorders or diseases or infirmity. So that hazards can include physical hazards, chemical, biological and social factors which can have the deleterious effect or the very damaging effect on the health of the people. So this is the environmental health. Now we'll see the historical view. The relationship of environment to health has been recognized by nurse since the time of Miss Florence Nightingale. Now we have heard these environmental sanitation or hygiene, etc. We have been hearing from the our childhood times, but why it is important in nursing? So we'll see here the historical view of nursing in this particular area, environmental sanitation or environmental hygiene. So basically it is the relationship of environment in the health, and in the nursing it is mainly recognized by the Miss Florence Nightingale, who is our mother of the nursing, we can say that, and she was the first nurse to recognize the importance of environmental factor in relation to health. So she was the first person who has recognized the environment is much important for the healthy living. Her concept of nursing care focused strongly on modifying the physical environment and included the 5 essential points. So she has given the 5 main essential points in which the nursing care is focused. So these 5 factors are: the first factor is pure air. If the person is getting pure air, the air they breathe or the air we breathe is pure, then no respiratory tract problems will occur. So pure air is very essential. So the next one is pure water. The water we drink or the water they drink, if it is pure, then no waterborne diseases can be occur. The next one is effective drainage. If we are living in such an area where drainage system is appropriate, so the sanitation problem will not be there. And also next essential is cleanliness. If we are maintaining cleanliness everywhere we are going, then no health problems will be occurring. And the last one is light. If proper lighting will be there, no health problems will be occurring. So these are the main 5 essential factors in which nursing care is focused according to Miss Florence Nightingale. Thousands of years before the Christian era, that is 3000 and 1500 BC before Christ, the Indus Valley civilization showed the presence of planned cities with sophisticated drainage and water supply system, well-developed houses and public baths, suggesting the practice of environmental sanitation. So this Indus Valley civilization, this era is also known as Bronze Era of the particular this before Christian era, and here in this period, presence of planned cities, they have much more developed drainage and water supply system. And during the same period, environmental sanitation measures were taken by Egyptian and Romans. In India, sanitary conditions deteriorated during the Mughal Empire, and the outbreak of leprosy and bubonic plague during 13th and 14th century in European countries associated with poor environmental sanitation. We have heard about this, that in 13th and 14th century there was an outbreak of leprosy and bubonic plague. It was clearly due to the poor environmental sanitation. This leprosy is skin lesions which is caused by Mycobacterium leprae, and the bubonic plague is also called as Black Death, which is a bacterial disease. So these are the diseases which has been occurred due to the poor environmental sanitation. The movement of true healthful living started during the middle of 19th century in the European countries and America. The impact of environment on health was firstly documented by Edwin Chadwick in 1842 in a report on sanitary condition of laboring populations of Great Britain in 1850. Next is John Snow documented the spread of disease due to contaminated water in London for the first time, even before the discovery of the microorganisms. At that time, discovery of microorganisms were not there. At that time in the London, he documented that spread of disease can be due to contaminated water. Later on, because of the discovery of bacteria by Louis Pasteur, who has given the pasteurization theory, and Robert Koch, the role of bacteria and environment in disease causation was understood slowly, gradually. Since then, lot of efforts have been put in and measures have been taken by the government at all the levels of European countries and in America to assess, prevent and correct environmental hazards to promote health and prevent diseases. In India, in 1859, Miss Florence Nightingale was involved by the British Parliament to investigate the heavy morbidity and mortality of the British soldiers. So basically, this morbidity and mortality are the main focused areas in which Florence Nightingale was concerned. So basically, morbidity rate are the disease rates or the illness rates, and the mortality are the death rates. So these morbidity rates and mortality rates in the British soldiers at that time was very high. So in the 1859 in India, these Florence Nightingale was involved to reduce this. Poor environmental sanitation was found to be associated with prevailing sickness among military and civil population. Since then, the emphasis was put on improving the sanitary conditions through public health department, local municipalities and health education department. In India, after independence, various specific programs for improvement of environmental sanitation have been implemented through community development programs in rural and urban areas. Like National Water Supply and Sanitation Program was started in 1954. After that, a drinking water board was set up in 1963 and some acts were enacted and promulgated and included. So these acts are, here it is. The first one is Comprehensive Water, which is known as Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, which is enacted in 1974. In 1981, the Air or Prevention and Control of Pollution Act was enacted. In 1986, an Environmental Protection Act was enacted. And in 1975, Prevention of Food Adulteration Act was promulgated. So these are the acts which has came in the enactation. In spite of all these efforts, the environment is getting polluted because the man-made pollutants like toxic gases, chemicals, radiation, nuclear waste, domestic and industrial waste are continued to be released in water, air and soil. So in spite of all of these efforts of the government, the people are polluting this kind of lifestyle. Like they are releasing the toxic waste, they are releasing the toxic water, in the air, in the soil. So ultimately, the environmental sanitation is getting polluted. Now there are areas of environment. So nature of environment is ever changing, and the areas which can be included in the study of environment can be as under, like which are the areas that can be studied under the environment. So in that, the first one is ecological system, second one is spatial system and analysis. The spatial system is basically related to the area or the space, that is known as spatial system, and the analysis. Next one is study of biosphere. Biospheres are the layers of the land that are known as biospheres. So study of biosphere can be there. Another one is study of natural disaster. Natural calamities we can include under these. And the last one is development of scientific forecast of anthropogenic changes in the environment. So the forecast or the prediction of the anthropogenic changes, that is also come under this area of environment. Although current concept of health and the environment are more complex, but nursing continues to be concerned with human beings' interaction with the environment in care and research. Providing an optimum, that means maximum level of environment for the maintenance of wellness, is the responsibility of a nurse person. So as a nurse, our role is to maintain the wellness or to provide the optimum environment to our clients. That is our role as a nursing personnel. The next is components of environment. So basically there are three components of environments which are closely related to one another. These are like the first one is physical environment, second one is biological environment, and the third one is social environment. So three kind of components of environment are there: physical, biological, and social. We will see one by one. The first one is physical environment. So the name itself suggests it is physical. So basically this physical environment concerned with the non-living things which is not living, and variety of physical forces and factors which directly or indirectly regulate the body mechanism and affect the health of the people. These are the concerned with non-living things basically, and these physical environment includes what? Housing, water, air, soil, lighting, friction, radiation, heat, sound, gravity, humidity, wind velocity, climate, geography, electromagnetic field, etc. So basically these are the factors which can be included in the physical environment. The variety of pollutants are found to pollute air, water, soil, food, and it results into various acute and chronic diseases. For an example, GI, that is gastrointestinal diseases, respiratory tract diseases, and skin diseases. So we know that if these kind of problems are there, this kind of factors are more in our lifestyle, so that can lead to acute or chronic kind of disorders like gastrointestinal disorders, like respiratory kind of disorders. If anyone is having dust in particular work area, so they will face the problems of respiratory tract infections. Apart from that, if anyone is having more exposure to radiation, that can lead to skin cancer. And the next component is biological environment. So here also the term itself suggests biological comprises of all the living things which is around the man. This is considered as the biological environment, and this biological environment can include the animals, plants, birds, insects, rodents, bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoas, and other microorganisms. These all are considered under the biological environments. Biological environment includes all the living organisms. There are some diseases which are produced by arthropods, insects, microorganisms, domestic and wild animals. Most of the time there is harmonious coexistence, but sometimes this is disturbed and it results into the ill health. So basically this whole biological environment is in the harmony, it is in the harmonious coexistence, but whenever there is any kind of disturbance in this, it can result into the ill health of the person. And the third one is social environment, which includes customs, culture, belief, moral and ethical values, income, education, social roles and regulations, religious practices, habits and occupation, and living standards of the people. So these all the factors are included under the social environment. A favorable social environment helps individuals in their social development and maintenance of the social health. So basically it means that if a person is having good customs, culture, beliefs, his or her moral beliefs and ethical values are very good, if he or he is having a good payment or good income to live his or her life, or good education, the rules and regulations are very good, they are having or maintaining good religious practices, they are having good habits and a standard occupation and living standards are good, then they will be in a good social environment, we can say that. So favorable social environment can also help to the person to have this good social health. The individual develops certain practices which will have positive and negative social impact, and some of the social negative social practices which have negative effect on health are like, very importantly, parda system, early marriages, dowry system, low status of women, caste system and segregation, etc. So in some areas negative social practices are coming and they have the negative effect on the health. Like if we are taking an example of parda system, so earlier times it was very common of that parda system, that woman is having parda and she cannot come out of that parda and she cannot speak for herself. So that parda system was there, which is socially negative impact. Then early marriages was there in the earlier times. Nowadays it is less, but it was like very common in earlier times. Early marriages, the girl and the boy, they are marrying in very childhood, or in many society newborn baby were marrying each others. So early marriages were also there. Dowry system was there, low status of women was there, caste system, the discrimination based on the caste system was there, and segregation was there. So these are the factors which can have the negative effect on the health. Some of the social conditions which also have negative impact on health are like, apart from these systems like parda system, dowry system, apart from that some other problems or negative, some other impacts are also there. Like if the person is having a broken family, if they are a single parent family, or overpopulation is there, large families are there, poverty is very, illiteracy is there, unemployment is there. So these are the social conditions which can also have the negative impact on the health of the personnel. And all these components of environment are related to each other, like physical, biological and social. These three components of the environment are related to each other. Every component of environment can help people to develop their potentialities to maximum and to attain optimum health. So here we have completed the components of health. Now the importance of healthy environment. Why it is important to have the healthy environment? So it is important for, first one is improving the health status of the individuals and community. So basically healthy environment is why needed? When we are having the pure air, when we are having the pure water, or the good sanitation, or the good housing condition and good society. So ultimately it can improve our health status. So it is necessary for the healthy being. Next one is protecting the population against diseases. That means protection of the diseases. When we are having the good environment, we will not have the waterborne diseases or airborne diseases or pollutants like microorganisms. So at that time we can protect ourselves from the diseases. So that is why healthy environment is also important. Next one is controlling the environmental pollution. For that also healthy environment is important. Next one is protecting the people from environmental hazards. These environmental hazards are very in the more context nowadays. So protecting the people from these hazards is also a healthy environment. Next is reducing the morbidity and mortality. I have told you earlier also, morbidity, that is illness rate, and mortality is death rate. So reducing these rates or these ratios, healthy environment is very important. Next one is protecting against communicable and non-communicable disorders. Next is encouraging environmental education. Next is protecting the health of individuals and communities. Next, for improving the social status of the people, which is related to social environment. And the last one is for the development and progress of the country and the nation, which is our ultimate goal. So these are the points why the environment is important for a healthy living. Now we'll see the purposes of environmental health. So which are the purposes of environmental health? The main purpose of environmental health is to create and maintain ecological conditions that will promote health and thus prevent diseases. So basically environmental health is necessary to create and maintain the ecological system of the earth, and which will promote our healthy living and prevent the disease or infirmities. So which are the team members? They are included in the environmental team. So these members are public health engineer, then epidemiologist will be there, physician which is trained in public health, sociologist will be there, economist will be there, public health nurse or community health nurse, which is CHN, health inspector, town planner, and auxiliary nurse. So these are the members who are working under the environmental team. Now we will see environmental problems in India. So nowadays the problems or pollution is very much in every country. So environmental problems are everywhere, but we will see specifically in India. So air and water pollution is there, reduction in forest areas, soil erosion, sound pollution, poor housing and slum development, excessive use of chemicals, fertilizers in agriculture leading to soil pollution. Apart from that, industrialization and urbanization, slowly, gradually, people are living their own villages, and they are coming or they are migrating to the urban areas. So that is industrialization and urbanization. Then unhygienic disposal of human excreta and refuse, insects and rodents, increasing pressure of traffic, depletion of natural resources, threat to biodiversity, radiation hazards, and population explosion. So these are the problems which are here in the India. Now there are factors which affect the environmental health. So the environment in which we live is constantly deteriorating due to various factors like man-made or nature. Some of the natural factors are transient and seasonal, for an example floods and droughts, etc. These are the natural factors, or we can say the natural calamities. There are a number of man-made and natural factors which are making the environment unhealthy by affecting our ecosystem and environmental health. So the first factor which can affect the environmental health is population explosion. So population explosion is the biggest problem of the universe now, and population of India is increasing very rapidly, and it is creating problems due to the overcrowding, development of man-made resources by urbanization and industrialization, and green revolution. So basically these three problems are there: overcrowding, development of man-made resources, and industrialization and urbanization, which comes under the man-made resources, and the third one is green revolution. So these three problems are creating and that is why the population explosion is a factor which can affect the environmental health. The next factor is urbanization. People are migrating to urban areas for education, employment opportunities due to industrialization in the cities. They get jobs, as in the villages, facilities for education and employment are lacking. People are poor in the villages and they migrate to the cities for their livelihood, resulting in overcrowding and development of slums, mostly on the unauthorized land. So basically, urbanization is a problem which can affect the environmental health. How? So compared to earlier era, nowadays people are migrating from their villages to the urbanization, or we can say the cities or the towns or their nearby area, where the facilities for the education, for the occupation, for the basic facilities, they are coming here. So the land is limited and the crowd is over. So overcrowding is the problem which can affect the environmental health of the people. Then the next one is automobiles. The increasing motor vehicles and other automobiles results not only is overcrowding of the roads, but the exhaust they release contains number of harmful gases and other particles which fell upon human health. So basically, automobiles are not only related to overcrowding of the roads, but apart from that, they exhaust or they release very many kind of number of gases or harmful gases, and that particles are fell upon the human health. So the human health will be diminished. The exhaust of automobile released contains like carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, lead and other unburnt hydrocarbons. Unburnt hydrocarbons, that means that gases which cannot be burned by ourselves, which pollute the air we breathe and causes various respiratory diseases. So ultimately it can lead to air pollution, and the air we breathe are polluted, and because of that the respiratory diseases are more nowadays. Though the automobiles save time and energy, but their hazards are dangerous to health. Like we say that nowadays we are very advanced, we are living in a new era, we are living in an advanced era. So with the technologies and with the new advancement, our life is very good, or we can say our life is being easy, but similarly at the same time we are having the dangerous effects or dangerous hazards for ourselves also. Next one is industrialization. So after independence, the industrialization has increased tremendously. There are small scale as well as large scale industries in towns. The industrial waste contains harmful waste products such as gases, solid materials, effluents, thermal waste, fumes of acids from acid factories, and various chemicals are released into the atmosphere. These industrial waste are, other than releasing into the air, it is also thrown into the rivers, streams, drains and onto the land. So basically this industrialization can lead to environmental problem. It not only pollutes the air but water and land too. When it is releasing to water, it is also going, their particle is also going into the air also and land also. So it is not only polluting the air, but also it is polluting the water and land, thus deteriorate our environment, causing harmful effect to the human health as well as to the animals and plants too. So basically it is affecting, or it is harmfully affecting the all the living organisms. The next one is deforestation. Deforestation is the another biggest threat to the environmental pollution. The trees release oxygen, we know that, and take up the carbon dioxide which we are releasing from the atmosphere, thereby purifying air. So basically trees are very important for purification of air. Now this deforestation is the biggest threat. Why? Because we are cutting day by day more and more trees. There are no forests like earlier. So they transfer water from ground to air, thus maintaining temperature and also prevent soil erosion. So basically trees or the forest, they release oxygen and take up our carbon dioxide. They also transfer the water from the ground and to the air. They are transferring it and maintaining the temperature of the environment, and also it prevents the soil erosion, like layers of soil or layers of land, it is preventing soil erosion. But forests are being removed for need of wood for housing, building, industries and expansion of land due to increased population, modernization, urbanization, colonization and industrialization. This phenomena is causing change in the climate and have adverse effect on the environmental health. So we are cutting the trees or cutting the forest for ourselves, for our selfishness, like for the housing, for the furniture, building, industries, expansion of the land. So for these reasons we are cutting the trees, or deforestation is there, but it is also have the harmful effect on the land. The next one is green revolution. The use of excessive fertilizers for increasing the yield of crops demands excessive water, and as a result of that, underground water is diminishing. The underground water is not there. It is causing threat to water requirement for human being and animals. The farmers are using excessive insecticides to destroy the pests and microorganisms for the farming, which have lasting effects on the agricultural products through the food chain. So due to this green revolution, the food chain is also diminished or the damaged or the breaking. These products are passed on to the various animals and human beings and cause various kind of diseases. Like cancer is one of the diseases which is found in the areas where excessive chemical, fertilizer and insecticides are used. So basically due to this green revolution, food chain is broken down. They break down, and for that many kind of disorders can be occur. The next one is radioactive substances. The power plants and hospital laboratories where the radioactive substances are used, if the human being working in such places do not take proper precaution and they are exposed to the radioactive elements, like if it is radium, uranium, which emits the radiation. So these radioactive substances can affect the person very negatively. So the radiation causes cancer of various organs. The radioactive wastes from the power plants, if not disposed safely with the special disposal methods, it pollutes air and water, and it can also causes harmful effects on all the living things, human being, plants and animals. So radioactive substances have the rays, like radium, uranium, which have the radiation property, which have the rays which are harmful for our body, which are harmful for the human being or the living organism. So for that, the proper disposal method should be there. Special disposal safety should be maintained to prevent this kind of diseases. So if it is not there, if we are not maintaining proper safety, if we are not disposing it properly, so that radioactive substances goes into the human health and it can deteriorate the health of the personnel. The next one is natural calamities. These are not man-made. These includes floods, droughts, earthquakes, cyclones, volcanoes, landslides, tidal waves and tsunamis in the sea. Just recently we have heard the name of cyclones, we have heard the name of tsunamis, Taute we have heard recently. So these are the natural calamities which are not man-made, which are not in our control, which are not in man's control. These are known as not man-made or the natural calamities, and these all have the harmful effect directly or indirectly on the human being, plants and animals. Now the chapter is completed here. Introduction of environmental hygiene will summarize the topic. So basically, environment refers to all which is external to an individual with which he is in constant interaction. It includes all the surroundings such as air, water, housing, food, soil, plants and animals. Basically, environment has two parts: internal environment and external environment. Internal environment, which is within the context; external, which is outside. The next one, we have seen the sanitation. What is sanitation? Sanitation is the science of safeguarding the health, that is known as sanitation. Environmental health is an art and science of promoting positive environmental factors and prevention and control of all the potential hazards, including physical, chemical, biological and social factors which have deleterious or we can say the damaging effects on the health. The components of environment we have also studied, which includes physical, biological and social. Mainly three were there: physical, biological and social, and these three are interrelated. Healthy environment is important to attain optimum or we can say maximum level of health. The environmental problems are increasing due to population explosion, deforestation, increasing urbanization and industrialization, and also due to natural calamities. All these conditions have adverse effect on human health, and there is a strong need to improve the environment in the all the fields. So that is why the environmental health is needed to study in the nursing.